Overshadowing the right to verification under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Brought to you by yourlegaleg.com, your advantage if you're being sued by debt collectors. As you probably know, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the FDCPA, gives you a right to dispute a debt and require the debt collector to verify the debt. Sometimes that's called validating it. They're basically the same in the law. They hate it when you use this right, and they try in various ways to keep you from using it. This video discusses what happens when they overshadow that right. Let's take a look back before we take up the specific topic we're going to discuss. The FDCPA, as you know, is the basis for many of the rights that you have against debt collectors, and one of the things it requires is that within 5 days of your first contact with the debt collector that it initiates, or by the first written contact that it initiates, the debt collector must do a couple of things. It must warn you that it is a debt collector and that anything you say can and will be used to collect the debt. They call this the mini Miranda warning after the criminal warning. And the second thing it must do is tell you that you have a right to dispute the debt and to require verification. You get 30 days from the day that you receive this notice to exercise your right to require verification. But what happens during those 30 days? They can take actions that are not inconsistent with your rights, whatever that means. And it's not clear what it means. A lot of times there's a gray area, and the debt collectors like to use that area. They don't want you to dispute the debt. If you do, they're required to verify it before taking any further collection actions. There's no real question about that, and that means any collection actions. So how do they get you to ignore your right to seek verification and just fork over the cash? What if the debt collector threatens to take action, suing you, for example, within a specific short period of time less than the 30 days? Or suggests some other vaguely unpleasant action if you don't respond immediately? That's probably more likely. That's called overshadowing the right. There are other ways to overshadow the right. One can put it in a small or faded out print on the letter. That's a favorite trick of some consumer scam artists like timeshare sales organizations, for example. Or you could put it on the back of the letter. That might do it. Or you could strongly suggest that the person supposedly in debt call immediately or contact the police regarding identity theft if you aren't going to pay, some other consequence for not paying. Anything to make you afraid to use the right will do. Or you could do any other number of things to negate the impact of the right to seek verification. Remember, they don't have to stop collection activities until and unless you seek verification. It's illegal. It's overshadowing the right to seek verification. Here's the language from 15 U.S.C. section 1692G, subsection B. Any collection activities and communications during the 30-day period may not overshadow or be inconsistent with the disclosure of the consumer's rights to dispute the debt or request the name and address of the original creditor. Courts interpret 1692G to require the effective communication of the mandatory validation information to a debtor. And this requires that validation information be presented in a non-confusing manner and that nothing else in the collection letter contradict or overshadow the required information, including the 30-day period. The basic test for determining whether language in a communication from a collector violates section 1692G is whether it is likely to deceive or mislead an unsophisticated debtor. Different jurisdictions have slightly different tests on who the debtor would have to be. In the 7th Circuit, for example, it's the least sophisticated debtor. In the 8th Circuit, it's an unsophisticated debtor. There's not much difference in reality between those two standards. Things like urging immediate payment or to face some immediate undesirable consequence tend to suggest that the collection activities will not stop if you seek verification, and hence that seek verification would be useless. That's kind of the key. These things violate the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. The debt collectors like to straddle this line because anybody they can intimidate into making immediate payment is somebody they won't have to fight with down the line to get the money. It's an easy, cheap victory, and it frees them up to go after other people. You should be on the lookout for this and other similar cheap tricks that are trying to get you to give up, as they give you a possible counterclaim and perhaps hand you a key to solving your debt problems. Protect what's yours and don't let the debt collectors rip you off. Debt collection is a social justice issue. Take action to protect yourself from the debt collectors and help others do the same. Please like this video, share it with anybody you think could use it, subscribe, and comment, as all these things help others find our materials. yourlegallagout.com